Hey, Trailblazers, we have some exciting news here at the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We have partnered up with Hilltop Packs, not just because they make amazing ultralight gear, but because they're a small family-run business doing huge things for our hiking and backpacking community. Every food bag, dry sack, fanny pack that you order can be completely customized. Print your trail name, your dog's face, your favorite mountain, or really whatever inspires you. When you shop at Hilltop Packs, you're not only buying gear that you're absolutely going to love, but you're supporting real families, real jobs, and small town craftsmanship. So head over to hilltoppacks.com and use code TTP10 to get 10% off of your order. Now on with the episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode. So now that we have kind of the plan, the caching, the campsites, was there ever any time or moments where you questioned those decisions?
No, I don't think so. I mean, kind of as we've said before, I was really confident in the plan, and I don't know that I would have said, okay, let's start this trail without being confident in everything we had planned out. I think the planning ahead of time and double checking, like that's a big part of it. So I was really confident in the plan going into it.
So what do you think had the biggest impact on where we stopped each night?
I mean, it was mostly just daily mileages. That's the way that it broke up. And as we've mentioned, it didn't always hit exactly where we thought it was going to, but there's so many places to camp out there that we pretty much just said, okay, let's walk 25 miles and there's going to be somewhere within a mile or two either way.
No. So if you were going to do this hike again, would there be anything in our plan that you would change?
If I was doing it the same amount of time, I mean, it would have been nice to hit that campsite on day one. So maybe just start a little earlier or a month later where we had an extra hour of daylight or something like that. But man, I feel really fortunate about this trip is I don't know that it could have went much better than what it did. We had awesome weather, awesome time of year, and everything worked out really well. So it's hard to say, oh yeah, I would change that because everything
No.
went so well the way it was planned out.
Okay, so part B to that question, which I'm just making up right now in my head, are you ever going to come back and try for 3 days?
Well, you know what's funny, and you know this from doing lots of trips, is you get done and you're like, "Oh, that was great. That was the one time I'm doing that." And that's pretty much it. But I actually went back and was rewatching the videos of that trip just because it's been, 4 months since that trip. And I was trying to remind myself a little bit about it. And watching it, it's like, oh, yeah, that really wasn't too bad. And thinking back on it, it's like, oh, yeah, we could, I mean, because we did it in 3 and a little over half a day, really, when you think about it. It's like if we had started earlier on day one, like we could make that in 3 days for sure.
You know, just let me know.
Yeah, that being said, I mean, also thinking back on it, hey, if you had 5 days and you were in camp longer, I mean, that sounds like a great trip too. So I don't necessarily think 3 days has to be a goal. Like there's so many different options you can take that trail. But yeah, I would definitely come back and do the Lone Star Trail again. Now that I've had a little time to sit back and think about it, it was a fun trail.
So to the listeners, this was our plan. Okay, the plan was day one, we were going to do, I think it's a little 28.4 miles. We were going to hike to Stubblefield and refill with water. So that was the day one cache, was Stubblefield campsite. And then you make it all the way to Trailhead 7. You kind of head out to Highway 45, go under Highway 45, and then, probably about another mile, you get back on trail. So it's a little bit of a road walk. You get back on trail, and then shortly after that, you hit this hunter's camp. And so that was day one. Then day two, we had planned 25 miles. and I had a cache set up at Trailhead 8. So that's 4-notch loop at the trailhead. And we were going to camp at the secret lake that we shall not talk about that's over there. And so camping there, let's say we missed the cache at Trailhead 8, it wasn't that big of a deal because in a couple of miles, we're going to be off trail at a lake. And that water I would filter. Then day 3 was another 25-mile day. And I had caches at Trailhead 9. And also I put just a single cache at Trailhead 11 because I remember one of the times that I did, I think it was the first time we hiked, that section was pretty dry. And that's what I remember, like, oh man, I should have cached here. And then we were going to camp by the double lake campsite. And then day 4, I think it was going to be ending up about 21.5 miles to finish up. And the reality we had, because we started late, we started almost about 9 in the morning, I guess, or 8:30, 8:45.
Yeah, it was a little after you.
Yeah, so day 1 was 24 miles, day 2 was 24 miles, day 3 was 27 miles, and then day 4 was 20-ish miles. Also, I can't believe I forgot to say this, but Cameron has alluded to this a few times. This trip is on his YouTube, so if you subscribe to his channel, you could scroll down. It's I would assume fairly recent that you would see day 1 and 2. I think you broke it up, and then day 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to see Jason in all his glory on a YouTube video, there he is.
Yep, and there's even a little moment in the video where I asked Daddy Cameron if we could build a campfire.
Hey, and I'm glad we did that because that night and that campsite and everything like that, that was a great part of the trip. So that was a really neat. I wish we would have got to camp a little earlier so we could have enjoyed that a little more.
And you know what I learned about that?
What's that?
That you don't have to bushwhack to it, that there's actually a trail that we walked out on. I had no idea it existed. So to the listeners, it's like 4 in the morning, we're packing up, and we had bushwhacked about 15 minutes, crossed this massive creek to get to this lake. And I only knew how to get there because you bushwhack. And so it's like 4 in the morning, I pop on my headlamp and I see these blazers going down this direction where it seems like, okay, it's heading to the Lone Star Hiking Trail. And then we walked out on that after about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes. We stumbled across the trail, and it was, didn't have to cross any creeks, didn't have to like bushwhack, didn't have to worry about getting ticks. It was just like a nice little trail that's really kind of hidden though. If you're on the Lone Star Hiking Trail and you don't know to look, you're not going to see it. And so that was spectacular. And I lead hike for the Lone Star Hiking Trail Club. And this last month, I usually do on the fourth Saturday of the month. This last month, we took the group to that secret lake, and we went.
It's not secret anymore.
No, but hey, it's only to the people that join the hike.
Yeah, that was a really nice spot. Whether we had to go cross country or not, it definitely was easier on the way out. But I'm glad that was your suggestion, was stopping there night 2, and that definitely was a high spot for the trail.
Can you imagine having to cross that massive creek that we did at dark?
Yeah, I really can't remember, but I remember it took us a minute once we got there trying to figure out a way, how are we going to stay dry getting across this thing.
Yep. All right, day 1. So you come to my house, my parents come and pick us up, and then they drop us off on trail, and then we're starting. How did day 1 feel compared to what you kind of expected?
I think I realized pretty early on, like, okay, we're going to start a little later than probably what we would have to make our daily mileage. So, just having that expectation going into it, and already knew, okay, we're going to adjust what we're doing. But the actual trail itself, completely flat, just like I imagined. And I know a lot of people I've seen online and just heard people talk about, like, oh, the tunnel, you're just in the pines the whole time, this and that. Like, I like that. I enjoy that. We don't have that in North Texas, so that's really neat to me. So I'm just happy to be out there and be walking amongst the pines.
I'm trying to remember. We started talking about, yeah, we're probably not going to make the 28 miles because it started getting dark. You definitely don't want to end at night because you can't look at the trees around you to see, like, is there anyone's leaning? Are there any dead branches above you? So, at what point did you kinda start to feel that, "All right, we're not gonna make it to the 28.4 miles, we need to kinda probably start looking for a place to ditch and camp."
Yeah, so I mean, I think it was early on we knew we weren't going to make it, but if you looked at the way the campsites fell, it's like, oh man, we're going to end up somewhere right in the, there was like a little dead zone of where there's not a designated campsite. And so it was either make it to 28 or I can't remember if Stubblefield was the only other thing before. I mean, it was like way short. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, we can't add on 10 miles the next day. So we knew we were going to have to be searching for a site. And I obviously don't know the area. So there's a lot of undergrowth in the Lone Star or along the Lone Star Trail. And so that's the only thing that makes it hard is, it's pretty flat out there, but there's so much undergrowth. It's hard to find enough spot for two tents where you don't end up. I think what we thought, worst case scenario, we might end up in like where there's like utility lines or something that's usually cleared out, but we didn't really want to do that. So I think that was the main thing is trying to find that spot, and we just lucked into it with just enough light left in the day that we were able to find something.
Yeah, and so, we were walking, I guess it's like a Forest Service road,
Mhm.
and there were, I think, a couple of spots that we kinda passed and like, "Okay, maybe if we don't see anything coming up here, heading back, that we would be able to, just come back to." But, yeah, we found something, and it was right off the Forest Service road. It was fairly flat. I think that's something else that really helps you to kinda recover if you can find a spot that's flat and you're not like, there's no elevation in it, so you're not sliding down in your tent
Mhm.
throughout the night. But yeah, I wasn't worried that we were not gonna find something because, like I said, like, we did spot some things that, that we could hike back to, but yeah, once it started, the sun started kind of getting into that position where, it's getting a little bit dark, yeah, you definitely want to, and I think we did a good job of trying to spot locations along the way in case we had to turn around,
Yeah, and
and
I'm
then we
really glad that we ended up getting off of the Forest Service road. I mean, because if you had to, we like you said, we found little spots right on the side of that road, but I just always kind of worry about who's coming down this road. Like it's best to be off the main track, and I think we just lucked into that spot.
So, was there any part of day 1 where the excitement kind of went away and the hike really started to feel real?
No, I think I was trying to think back on it earlier today about the entire trail. Is it was a trail that I wanted to do, something I was really excited about, and I wanted to complete the whole thing. So I feel like I stayed pretty motivated the whole trip, and physically the trail is not hard, it's just repetitive. And I think something that helps out is not thinking of it as, okay, I'm walking 100 miles. It's, hey, I'm walking this far this day. That's all you had to complete. And you can walk 25 miles. You can do that. And breaking it up into those chunks, that makes it way easier than trying to think of it as the whole entire trail.
So, day 2 happens, you wake up, what are you thinking?
Day two. So we had to add on a little mileage, right? So it was going to be a shorter day and it made it slightly longer. Yeah. So well, I think once we got packed up and got moving, it was another one of those, okay, we got a good plan. We know day two is where we're actually going to be hitting some like, isn't that's where we went through the neighborhood and, I can't remember. Yeah, there was a road walk that day as well. So
Yeah.
that was the part of the trail. So I'd done everything up until that point when I'd been there before. So I guess day two was really more of an unknown for me. And that was kind of exciting getting to see something that I didn't know exactly what we were getting into.
So day 2 for me was kind of the first time where I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna suck," because there is a road walk to get to Trailhead 8, and it's not a horrible long road walk, but it's some miles. But what was exciting for me is that I knew that we were gonna be able to make in a reasonable amount of time to still enjoy the daylight, but the hidden lake, and
Mhm.
we did, and so that kinda motivated me to when I got up on day 2 is that, "Oh, yeah, I get to show you the lake, and we get to bushwhack to it because I didn't know about that trail, and that was pretty exciting, but, yeah, I was really dreading the road walks. And to the listeners, the Lone Star Hiking Trail, I don't know how many miles it has, but there's probably, what, 13, 10 miles of road walk?
Yeah, it's a little more than it was more than what I imagined, and definitely some of the roadblocks were longer. It's like, all right, I'm ready to get back on an actual trail, but some of them were nice, on gravel roads or
Man, Bath Road, I think it was.
yeah, Bath Road.
Those big ranches and
Yeah.
their massive gates. Yeah, that was pretty, and I have a picture. I believe it's a picture or it's in your video. You're taking a video of me walking, and it's on that Bath Road and the lights coming through the tree. Yeah, that was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Alright, we get to the lake. What's your thoughts?
That was definitely the prettiest thing I think we had been to so far on the trip. The lake was bigger. Everything we had seen up to that point was well, besides Conroe, but this being in the actual forest, I mean, that was a good sized lake. It wasn't just like a little muddy pond, and that had perfectly cleared out spot for. I mean, I don't know how many people could camp there. Quite a few.
Yeah.
That was a really nice spot, and that was something that I you don't find information about online, so I didn't know what it was going to look like or what we were getting into. But yeah, what a pretty spot for camp that night, and we got in just enough time with just enough daylight. Had a fire and a good dinner, and got to talk a little bit. Cell phone reception, and yeah, that was a great spot.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular, and I really enjoyed that we got there in enough time to set up camp. It was still daylight. It was getting dark, but it was
Mhm.
still kind of dusk, and, yeah, we got to just hang out, we got to build a fire, so that kinda rejuvenated me because I think by that time, the monotony of the trail and the miles that we were doing were kinda getting to me, so that kinda refreshed me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was excited that you got to see it, and, yeah, we got to build a fire, and there's nothing like campfire by a lake.
I will say that is I love a campfire, and if we'd have been able to physically not been tired, I would love to have a fire every night. So, I have that in my mind, oh, a campfire, but you get to camp and you're so tired, you're ready to go to bed. And I probably would have been ready to go to bed that night as well. But you said, hey, let's have a campfire. And you got it going. And I think that was exactly what we needed that night. That was nice to have.
Alright, day 3, we get up, we head out. This is where I believe I ruined the hike for you.
No.
So, we had, Trailhead 8, headed out there to from the lake, got back, got to Trailhead. No, it was before Trailhead 9, and there is a part in the trail where you can exit the trail, and you can walk this Forest Service road, and I thought, "Okay, we've been walking in this pine tunnel corridor that maybe this would be something kind of exciting," and so I was like, "Hey, hey, Cameron, do you wanna jump off the trail and hit this road?" I totally didn't remember the road being that long.
It was a little longer than what I was thinking. We were walking for like a minute or two, and it was a little way.
Yeah, so it's probably a couple of miles till you get back to the trail to continue to Trailhead 9. So I mistakenly took Cameron off the trail, and, I apologize for that, but, yeah, it was a boring road walk. It wasn't as spectacular as going off trail to the lake, so, I gotta make that up to you, but, yeah. So, day 3, I think I started to struggle with just the monotony of the trail, and then you start to kind of feel that, oh, is this a hot spot on my foot or chafing? And I had a plan for that, but it didn't really raise its ugly head like it did one of the other times.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's when I started to like, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to be done? So was there ever a time out of the 4 days where it kind of felt like that for you?
No, I mean, I was pretty excited the whole time. I think the only time where I was like, all right, I'm ready to get to the next section, and I can't remember what day it was on. It may have been day 3. We got on a pretty good sized road walk, and it was in the afternoon. It's hot, the sun beating down on us, and it wasn't so much that it was a road walk as the type of road, and there's no shoulder, and you're just walking for like a ways, and it's like, all right, I'm ready to get back on trail, or at least on a small road. Some because I actually enjoy seeing some of the area off the roads, like some of the houses, gates, things like that. I mean, there's cool stuff out there, old cemeteries and churches and stuff like that's neat. I like seeing that, but just whatever those particular roads, I was ready to get on past that section.
Yeah, and that is the section from Trailhead 9 to Trailhead 10. You walk by Evergreen Baptist Church. You go through Evergreen, the little town, and the pavement is dark. There's no shoulders. Cars are flying by at 80 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean it's in the middle. We were hitting that section in the afternoon. The heat is radiating from the street, and I was miserable. I just wanted to get to camp.
I will say most, it's small town Texas, so most of the cars they see you on the side of the road, like they're getting over, they're giving you
Yeah.
like that is pretty nice. I don't know if it was everybody just hugging the shoulder, I don't know that I would have enjoyed that, but it really wasn't too bad. It just I think it was the sun and the length of the road walk.
Yeah, I think we ended up camping at Double Lake Primitive Camp Spot, and I just remember getting there, and I was dead.
Yeah, well that day it was dark by the time we got there.
Yeah, I didn't eat dinner, I just went to bed.
I'd like to say that it was a really nice campsite, but I mean, it seemed nice. It was open for sure, but it was too dark to see, and then we ended up leaving early the next day. So I never did actually see that campsite we were at, but it was definitely open and a nice spot. I was glad to finally get to camp.
So if you kinda look back, what are some of the moments that stand out to you, whether it's mentally or physically, as the hardest for this trip?
The hardest, I mean, it would. I don't think I had anything like physically hard. Overall, it's flat walking. So I guess if anything's physically hard, it's just the monotony of doing the same thing. But mentally, I was just in a really good headspace the whole time. So I really didn't have anything that was too hard for me. I love walking. My mind is firing the whole time while I'm walking. So it was a great time to just get to when we weren't talking. I'm just thinking about life and just being appreciative for being out there. So I wouldn't say anything really was too hard. I was just in a really good spot this entire trip.
I would say the hardest part for me was probably day 3, but that was not the day that broke me. Day 4 broke me.
Well, you didn't break because you made it. So
Well, you wasn't around whenever I broke, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But day 3, my back started
oh
like,
yeah,
the muscles by your spine. So in the video, to the listeners, if you're watching the videos and you see me bent over, it's not because I'm tired, it's not because I'm just stretching my back, because the muscles were hurting. Um, but man, there was a part on day 4, and it was mile 94. And I think you probably had already finished by then.
no, I waited. I didn't finish. I definitely was. I was a little ways ahead, but I was waiting on you.
Yeah, so I was coming to mile 95, I thought, and I'm just spent. I'm like, "I'm ready for this to be done." This is it's what, 21 mile days. We've already had 27 the day before. I'm done. I'm ready for my Whataburger, and I'm done. And I rounded this little corner, and there's a tree, and it said mile 94. And I'm like, "No, this is supposed to be mile 95." And I'm like, "You've gotta be kidding me." and I just sat down. I just sat down on my butt on the trail and went, "Oh my gosh." So that and then I had to just regroup, like, take some deep breaths, stretch my back a little bit, and then say, "All right, let's go."
Yeah, you're almost done anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your hardest or toughest day on trail or out of the days?
Toughest day, man, it's hard to remember now. I would say probably day 3. I know it was a long day and been able to well, we're leaving out before the sun comes up, and then that day, it was so long that, we ended up getting there, I mean, like I said before, it was dark, so, I think by the time we got to day 4, I feel like, "Man, we're pretty much there, like, we've got this thing whooped," but day 3, that was a long day.
And I think day 3 was probably the coldest morning too that we got up. I'm trying to remember, like, we had gloves on and yeah,
Mhm.
it was a pretty chilly morning too, so. Alright, so out of the 4 days, were there any unexpected trail surprises, whether it's good or bad?
Unexpected trail surprises. One thing I didn't expect out of the trail was that each section looks completely different, even though they're all connected. And that was amazing to me. So I don't know that it was any particular day, but you get to the Big Woods section and it's like, oh, wow, this looks completely different than what we just walked out of. The undergrowth is less, the trees are perfectly straight, they're thick. Like, that was really cool. The 4-notch section, it's its own section. Like, that's really neat. And that's one thing about we've talked about the monotony of the trail as far as just walking and it being flat, but what you're walking through, at least for me coming from an area where we don't have pines, like it was different. Like there were cool things to see. So it wasn't just you don't get the big sweeping views and things like that, but you get a lot of variation on a smaller level. And I thought that was really neat.
So, I love this question, and I have an answer for it, and it makes me giggle. When did it finally hit you? Like, we're gonna finish, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna keep walking, eventually I'm gonna finish, but there's always that feeling like, "Oh, okay, we're there, like, we're gonna finish." When did that hit you?
I don't recall exactly you bringing up the thing of about your back. I kind of forgot about that, but I did have that like not a doubt, but I guess a little worry because you definitely could tell your back was hurting you. And so I do remember thinking like, man, I hope Jason's going to be able to keep walking. And you kept saying, oh yeah, we're going to make it. I'm no problem. But like, there's always that worry of, man, I hope your back it doesn't get worse or anything like that. And I guess that's the only real doubt I had about us finishing the trail together. And then once we made it far enough past that, it's like, okay, well, I know you're going to tough it out these last few miles anyway. So I guess that's the only real, like, kind of doubt I had about that.
So, for me, like, of course, I like, this back thing is not something new, so in the quads and stuff, I always experience it, especially in the quads because it's such heavy, heavy water carries, and I'm not the one to, like, prepare for a trip physically, I just go out and do it,
Yeah.
and whatever happens, happens, and I guess at my age, I need to probably prepare a little bit more with some, you know, exercise, but, for me, mile 94, I was like, "Okay, I'm not finishing," like, and then I made a joke to myself, I'm like, "Alright, I quit. I quit. Right now, mile 94, I quit. I'm just gonna walk to the trailhead and
Yeah.
go home."
Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So I quit, and then I just walked to the trailhead and got picked up, so so I did. I finished it. So looking back, what was the absolute high point of the trip?
It had to be that camp on night 2. I mean, that was, besides finishing, obviously, I mean, that was the ultimate goal. So that was a big deal. But yeah, that camp night 2, that was awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, the being at the lake and being able to build a fire, not being so tired or getting into camp where it's dark, so we both got to enjoy the lake, build a fire, and that was probably mine as well. And I'm gonna answer this one first, and then you can go, but on the flip side, what do you think was the lowest moment for you on the trip? And for me, is when I started to feel my back hurting, and I think it was probably day 3, I think, or in the morning, where I could just start to feel the little twinge, And I was just like, "Oh, man, I don't wanna go through this again." So then I started taking, Tylenol and stuff, and one of these days I'll learn, but what about you? So was there any kind of low moments, or what was the lowest?
Like I said, I think stayed fairly even. I think if I had to pick anything, it would be just the monotony of walking. It would have been awesome if there was any sort of trail variation as far as ups and downs. But I mean, it is, I don't know what the overall ascent of the trail is, but it's not much over 100 miles. It is flat. So I think that's really the only thing that kind of bothered me at all.
I wish they would put, like, a store or something on one of the road walks. That'd be kind of exciting, like
Yeah, something to look forward to that you're headed to.
yeah, for sure. Alright, so what piece of gear did you carry that completely proved itself?
Man, you know what I absolutely love, and I love talking gear, but the Graham Weenie alcohol stove that I brought, that so I've used alcohol stoves in the past, but never for like several days in a row. And that thing worked so well that my cook kit, that all worked out great. Now, all it's gonna do is boil water, but that's all I need. I mean, that's all I'm doing whenever I backpack, and that Graham Weenie stove weighs like nothing. It's less than an ounce, and it boils water just as fast as a canister stove, way less weight and bulk. I love that, and I was really glad that I brought that on that trip.
And to the listeners, if you don't know what that is, if you check out his videos, there's a couple of parts of the video where it's burning the alcohol, and the flame that comes out of that thing shocked me.
Yeah, I mean, it's hot. Put off some heat.
Yeah, so definitely check it out, and it's something that I want to look at investing in. I think for me, and this is like I'm like an old broken record, but the piece of gear that always proves itself, and it's a game changer for me. It's the only piece of gear that I've ever bought that's really impacted me in a positive way, are the water bottle sleeves from Trader Joe's.
Yeah, and I had one on this trip as well, and I heard about it from Joe or from your podcast, and I got one and started using it. Like I said, I use a mix of bottles and the platypus bladders, and that is very convenient having it on your shoulder strap.
Yeah, and just for weight balance and stuff, especially for some of the stuff that we do, the big water carries and the quads and stuff, it's a game changer.
Mhm.
So was there any gear that maybe was new that surprised you that it performed fairly well, or is it gear that you brought that you normally would take anyway?
Well, I mean, there's a few things that I did either different or were new. Like, so the shoes that I wore on this were the Brooks Cascadias, and I hadn't taken those on any sort of like long trail, and I really was a little nervous about blisters or something, but and they worked out perfect. I had no problems with them. And then the weather, we hit a good weather window, but there were some cold days and some like right there on the verge of like, man, I don't know, do I need a thermal shirt? Well, I ended up not taking any sort of like base layer, and I just had my normal shirt, t-shirt or whatever, and then I took my jacket, my down jacket, and I can vent that thing well enough. Like I can hike in my down jacket if it's cool enough. And if I start to get hot, I just unzip it, pull it open, or take it off. And so that worked out really well as well. All my clothes and gear, everything. It's hard to say it because I've been saying it over and over, but like everything about this trip, gear, plan, everything worked out so well. Yeah, I really enjoyed those few pieces of gear.
I think for me, like, my gear is pretty set, and so if something, didn't perform, or it wouldn't be in the pack, and everything performed as expected, and, yeah, from a gear perspective, everything, it was perfect. It was
Oh,
perfect.
one thing I would add, and I think you've had Ben from Hilltop Packs on here before. I got a food bag from him, and they do the custom bags where you can get your picture, or logo, or whatever. Well, I got a picture of my wife put on my food bag, and that has been the best thing. So I've always thought like I have a hard time when I go out backpacking where like I miss my family. Like that's the main reason I ever want to quit a trip is like, oh, I just want to be home with my family. But that has been so awesome having that food bag of her with her picture on there because she's such a good cook and she feeds me so well at home that it's one, nice just to pull it out and see her picture, but two, I'm taking my food out of there, so it's like, oh, she's feeding me every time that I'm going to eat. So like that was really cool thing to have from Hilltop Packs that I brought on this trip that I really enjoyed.
You know, it's funny you say that, and shout out to Olivia. Um, when I asked him the question, I go, "What do you think is?" I don't remember. It was something like, "What do you think is the most important piece of gear, or what's your favorite piece of gear?" And he said a food bag, and he goes, "You may think it's weird that I would say that, but you know, like exactly what you said. You have your family. You can print your family on this food bag, and when the trail is tough, or you know, you're wanting to quit or you're wanting to, I don't know, that just like exactly like you said, just having your family, having your wife, having your kids, your baby, whatever on your dog on that food bag just gives you that extra bit of, yeah, yeah, we got this. And
Yeah.
it's awesome that you say that. But yeah, I definitely would agree. And it is a great food bag.
Oh yeah, the quality of the bag itself is really nice, but it's awesome what they do being able to custom print those bags.
So speaking of food, how did your food strategy hold up over the 4 days? Like what was your strategy kinda going in, and then how did it, end up?
Yeah, so I knew that we were going to be trying to walk as much as possible, so I wanted a breakfast and lunch that if I needed to, I'm eating on the go. And I've picked up enough over all these years that I have stuff that works for me. I found meals that work for me, that I'm not going in just trying random things. Like I know I like this food and it's going to make me feel good at the end of the day whenever I eat it. So yeah, I had a breakfast. I make these peanut butter Rice Krispie treats, and they are like my favorite thing. I've been eating them since I was a little kid, homemade. They're great. That's what I had for breakfast every day with coffee. And for lunch, I had something I could walk and eat. So things like beef jerky, trail mix, just your standard backpacking food. And I keep it in a pocket that I can reach so I can eat it while we're walking. And then for dinner every night, like I want a good hearty cooked meal, and did the beans and rice, and then I think I do couscous and chicken. Like that's another easy one. Anything that I can just boil water, and that's all I need. Easy meals with zero cleanups. I use the freezer bags, so I'll pour water into the freezer bag. I don't want to be cleaning stuff while I'm out there. You're already tired enough. Like I just want to eat good food and then seal the bag up. That's your trash. You're done for the day. So that all worked out really well.
If I remember correctly, on the last day, you were, like, literally running not running out of food because we're ending, but, like, your food was coming down to almost perfect. Like, when you finished, there was no extra food, so you had it planned out pretty well.
Yeah, I do really well on planning trips like that. As far some people they get nervous. Oh, I need this much extra food, or won't bring enough food. I've been backpacking long enough that I've pretty much got my food figured out, and I will end up with literally zero. Now, if I thought that we needed to go the rest of that day and was going to be into the next day, yeah, I probably would try to ration a little bit. And I had a couple snacks that I just went ahead and ate because I could. But I mean, if anything, I could have taken maybe slightly more food. But yeah, everything worked out really well. And you had some interesting food. You were trying some new stuff on this trip that I thought was really interesting. Some of your snacks that you had.
Which ones were those?
What were you doing? Like the honey and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, to the listeners, I started, packing dates. So the dates are, like, hol they don't have the seed in them, and I was putting peanut butter and honey inside of them.
yeah, that sounded good.
Man, it was good. It was absolutely good, and then I think a couple of times I even brought a little bit of extra sea salt just to put on top, and yeah, it was pretty spectacular. Yeah, that was new for me, and it will be on any other future backpacking trip that I go on is that combination. And also, in looking back, I'm type 2 diabetic, like, it didn't impact my blood sugar as much as some of the other kinda snacks and stuff that I would eat, even though I'm doing, like, some big miles and stuff, but it kinda worked out pretty good for me.
Mhm.
Alright, what about first aid issues, foot care? How did all that go for you? Like no issues, no hot spots, no.
Yeah, I never got any blisters or anything like that. It was something I was worried about, so, like, I had Leuko tape with me. I think I remember pulling out some Leuko tape and putting it on a spot, but it never really turned into a blister. It wasn't bad, but, I mean, that's pretty much the basis of my first aid kit. I would not look to me for a good, like, "Hey, what's in your first aid kit?" 'Cause I really don't carry much, and I haven't ever had much. I've pretty much on all my trips, I figured out if you take care of your feet, I mean, you're good to go. So, yeah, I do remember now pulling out one piece to put on a hot spot, but I never ended up with a blister, so it wasn't too big of a deal.
Yeah, you walk so fast the blisters can't catch up.
There you go.
There you go. Let's say someone's wanting to attempt this trail. What gear strategy would you give them advice for?
If you're wanting to do the whole thing, I mean, I'm always an advocate for carrying as light of weight as you want to. I definitely don't try to tell people ultralight's the way to go. That's definitely an option and something cool to strive for. But if having more weight and more luxury items, if that's what makes you happy, then that's what you should have, as long as it doesn't impact you actually hiking. So, if you need a couple extra pounds for a chair or whatever it is, a better sleep system, like I would definitely bring that. But yeah, I mean, bring what makes you happy. I would test out your stuff ahead of time. But that being said, I mean, the Lone Star Trail, if you are testing new gear for even bigger hike, I mean, Lone Star Trail is a good trail for that because you're not too far away. If something doesn't work out or you got in a bad spot, you are not too far away from from cell phone signal and from any sort of road. Like you're able to bail out. Like that's a good trail for being able to test things out. So that's a good trail for that. And other than that, I don't know, maybe uh, if you're leaning hammock or leaning tent, I mean, that's a good trail for doing either one. So I think just bring whatever makes you happy. And as long as you got everything you need to keep you safe, that's a good trail for trying out new things.
So the gear strategy for me to give an advice to someone is exactly what you said. Don't go on trail without testing it. And not so much testing it, but get it out of the pack.
Yeah, at least set it up.
Yeah, set it up in your living room, set it up in your backyard just to make sure you can set it up. The Lone Star hiking trail, exactly what Cameron said. The last lead hike that I did, I took the group to a primitive campsite and we didn't even walk maybe a mile and there was a campsite. So you can gear test, you can, you know, make sure all this stuff works out on trail with very minimal inconvenience. You're just walking maybe a mile. And I would also advise you go back to listen to the episode with Todd. His first time to try to attempt the Lone Star hiking trail, I think his pack was like 50 or 60 pounds. His friend's pack was about that heavy. He was way ahead of his friend. He walked back to his friend, and his friend had so much gear, he was crawling on the ground trying to make it somewhere. I don't know where. Go back and listen to that. And so the point of that is you don't have to take the kitchen sink.
Hmm.
I take a camp chair. I also carry a little bit more heavier sleeping pad. But some of these things you'll learn, they pay off in the end, right? Me being able to sleep in a more comfortable way makes me sleep better. And so after a 20, 25-mile day, I'm way more refreshed than if I was kind of like carrying less weight and sleeping on that crappy pad that I have. Well, it's not crappy. It's a good pad. It's just, I don't like it.
Right.
So if you have to think, am I going to need this? Don't pack it. I'm going to need a tent. I'm going to need a sleeping bag or or a quilt. I'm going to need a backpack, blah, blah, blah. If there's anything you're like, am I really going to need this? Don't bring it. And hopefully you're doing, gear shakedowns and then you really feel like, yeah, I didn't take it and I didn't need it. So
Yeah, and maybe like keep in mind the style of trip that you're doing. I mean, that's a big deal. Is if you're doing the trip in 3 or 4 days, you're not going to have time in camp, so you don't need the chair. You don't need the stuff around camp that you might need if you were doing a trip in 6 or 7 days where you're spending 3 4 hours in camp. Like, yeah, you need or you're going to want more stuff in camp to be comfortable in camp. if you're hiking like what we did on our trip, we're leaving, it's dark, we're getting there, it's pretty much dark. Like there's not a lot of hangout time. So your time that you need is you need your pack to be light during the day because you don't need the stuff for camp.
No, absolutely. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us and we will be happy to get you in the right direction. So I like this question. Now that we're back home, and like you said, it's been 4 months, 5 months since the trip.
Mhm.
How does the trip feel like to you now, kind of like in hindsight?
Yeah, so being like this far removed from the trip, like I said before, it's I would have said that was the one time I did it, and I think I mentioned that to you. Like that's why I wanted to do it in 4 days. Like let's enjoy it a little bit, and that was going to be the one time I did it. Now looking back on it, especially watching the videos and stuff, it's like wow, that that was fun, and that would be an easy one, would be a good one to do with kids and stuff. So we may be back down there at some point, whether it's the whole thing at once or break it up into halves or something. I mean, yeah, I would definitely give it another shot.
For me, like just look kind of the hindsight of the trip, it kind of was out of my mind, certainly a positive experience, but then, when we finally got this episode scheduled and all my technical issues were not happening, I went back and watched the videos and, it was such a fun time, like,
Hmm.
and it's weird how it's kinda like the type 2 fun, like, you do something really crazy and then you forget about it. Yeah, so I got to watch the videos again. I've watched them, golly, probably about 9 or 10 times, both pairs, and, yeah, it was it was neat to remember it through the videos and kind of like you said, like, you kind of forget about it after so long, just kind of it was a great experience, but then to go back and see the videos, it was pretty spectacular. So, did the trail give you what you expected or maybe something different?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, I wanted to complete. I'm glad that part of it. One thing I got out there that maybe I wasn't expecting as much as just time to be out in nature and think. And like I said, my mind's always firing out there. So time to reflect and spend time with God and speak with Him and read my Bible and things like that. So I got that part out of it. I was really appreciative to be able to connect with God in a new way out there because there are just some spectacular spots along the trail where you just feel it in a different way being out there.
Yeah, and I always feel it whenever that sun it's early in the morning and it's cold and you can see, like, your breath and then the sun is cutting through the trees and you're just like, "Man, the beauty that he's created for us, it's pretty spectacular."
Yeah, like I just watched the videos, like I said here recently, just to be able to kind of refresh my mind. And like I'm not a videographer, I don't, my videos aren't great, but I was like, wow, that is a really good shot. And it's not anything I did. It's just, man, the sun coming through the trees, just perfect time of day. Like there are some really cool scenes from out there.
And this is also to the listeners, and, I'm on the Lone Star Hiking Trail almost every weekend, either a Saturday or Sunday, and I am so disappointed if I don't get out there before the sun comes up, because it is truly spectacular to walk through the woods and these sections and just catch that whole process of the sun rising and cutting through the trees, and sometimes it's a foggy day. Shockingly, in November, the leaves change. If you go to Trailhead 6, that whole path to Lake Conroe, it's the prettiest oranges and reds that you've ever seen. So, yeah, it's absolutely spectacular. So I love this question. So you've been on the Lone Star Hiking Trail and you hated it and because of the conditions, and like you said, if you don't plan it right, the conditions can be horrible. If you're not paying attention to weather, before your trip and during your trip. So how did this trip change your perception of the Lone Star Hiking Trail?
Oh yeah, I mean it completely changed it because I just realized if you know the trail conditions going into it, if you can figure that out through somebody on Facebook or local or whatever, like, I mean, what we hit maybe like one little tiny patch of mud and the rest of the trail is completely dry. And that makes it I mean, it was easy walking. So before, like I had in my mind, okay, there's a slog, or I'm going to be covered in mud, or my feet are going to be wet the whole time. So I couldn't have been any happier with the trail conditions.
Yeah. And it's I always say the Lone Star hiking trails, what's that, Forrest Gump? It's like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get. So this trip, did you learn anything about yourself?
No, I mean, I haven't completed a lot of long trails like that. I mean, this is definitely the longest end to end hike that I've done. So I guess that just gives me confidence. Oh yeah, you can do it for that many days. Most of my trips, even like anything that's on my channel and things I've done in the past, I've done a few longer trips, but almost all of them are 1 night, 2 night, maybe 3 night trips. So this was a little bit longer of a trip for me, and just being able to complete it, this just gives you that confidence going into the next trip.
This is an interesting question for me. That faster pace, doing it in 4 days, do you think it negatively or positively impacted your experience on the trail? And if you did the trail again, would you look, let's say without the kids, but just you, would you look to what would be your second attempt at it?
So I think the pace helped a lot. Kind of how I mentioned before, as far as like water, food, you don't have to worry about resupplies. You don't have to worry about all these different logistics of it because you're moving fast enough that it doesn't matter. So I think that really actually helps out. And as long as you can walk that amount of time each day, if I was to do it again without my kids, so say just us or me solo or whatever, I definitely wouldn't. I probably could go as long as doing it over 4 nights. Like go ahead and make that last day a complete day. I think that would give you a little more time in camp each day. If I wasn't going to do that, then yeah, I probably would try to do 3 days just because I know I can do it. Like, haven't been out there, like I know we could make that time. And whether that's a big goal of mine or not, it's just something different. It's just a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does this experience kind of fit into your larger hiking journey?
Like I mentioned at the first of the podcast, it's one of those trails that I feel like if you're a Texas backpacker, I mean, you got to do the whole thing or at least do it in sections or something at some point in your life. So, really glad to check that off. I feel like that was kind of like a thing looming over, like, man, you had this failure 12, 13 years ago. And so it was great to get that knocked off and I could say I'd done it. But on top of that, like it's nice to be able to say I've done it to where somebody else wants to do it. Like I like to be able to say, oh, well, here's this, this, and this, give little bits of information. I love putting out the YouTube videos to help other people be able to do it. Not that I think, I mean, there's plenty of people out there hiking and backpacking. You see it from where you go, and there's lots of people out there. So, not necessarily bringing people in, but just giving people the confidence. Hey, here's the information. Here's what you need to be able to do it. So, that's one aspect that I liked about being able to finish it. I've seen the whole thing, and I'm glad to have it checked off the list.
Nice. All right. So if someone is on the fence about attempting the Lone Star hiking trail, what would you tell them?
I would tell them it's definitely doable if you check the trail conditions because it could be a vastly different hike, whether you're hiking through water or not. But yeah, it's definitely doable, and it's doable for man. It's got to be doable for almost anybody, wouldn't you think? Depending on your pace, like I mean, it's flat enough that if you could go out and do a night or two, or even if you day hiked the whole thing, like older people could do it. I think young kids could do it. It's got a little bit of a challenge for everybody.
Yeah, I think the only thing, and you get off of Trailhead 8, like the 4-notch section, but just on the Lone Star hiking trail, you have a lot of creek crossings, and some of them are pretty deep. That would be the only thing that,
Right.
and I think most of them, I mean, it could be pretty slippery, meaning like after a storm, some of the trails washed out. But yeah, I mean, I think it would lend itself to most people to have a successful experience. Doesn't mean maybe you completed it, but to get on trail, have a goal, and to be successful, I definitely think it lends itself to that. So, last question. First off, look at Cameron on the podcast. Awesome.
Made it.
And my first decline. Look at you. When are you coming back on? Oh wait, first, did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I did actually enjoy it. It went by quick. I was looking up here at the length of how long this has gone for, and it seemed like it went by pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. And are you coming back on to talk guads?
Yeah, I'll definitely come back on. That's something I have a little more experience in, probably a little more stories. So yeah, we'll come back on sometime.
All right, I can't wait. So I will already start working on the episode, and you just let me know. All right, Cameron, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast this Friday. I always say this on every episode. I feel kind of stupid trying to put it in words of how thankful I am, but I'm really, really thankful. I know you're very busy with family and work and all that stuff, and I can't thank you enough. I think the listeners are going to get a lot out of it. And especially just one more time, how can the listeners connect to your YouTube? Because there's so much valuable information that goes back 10, 12 years. So how can they connect again with you?
Yeah, so just look me up on YouTube. Pretty much, you can type in my name, Cameron Hall, or look up Guadalupe Mountains videos. It's gonna come up because I've got quite a few from out there, and yeah, I appreciate anybody watching. What I really enjoy is talking back and forth. If you have any questions, or not even questions, just comments about the videos, I enjoy communicating with people on those. So yeah, look me up on YouTube.
And I would bet my last dollar that there's not one question or asked on any of those videos that you didn't respond to.
Yeah, I try for the most part to respond to pretty much every, especially the Guadalupe Mountains ones, because I feel like I'm not just talking. I feel like I know the answer to most of those questions. So I try my best to respond to everybody who comments on there. And if I've missed something here or there, if you've commented and I missed your comment, then sorry. Oh, hey.
So, to the listeners, I have a friend that makes these plaques when you finish the Lone Star Hiking Trail, and so he made Cameron one. So I got Cameron one, and I just showed him and some Nepalese flags from Everest.
That's neat.
So the next time I see you, I have this stuff for you. All right. Well, Cameron, go to bed. I know you got to work tonight. Again, I can't thank you enough. And you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jason. Glad we finally get to it.
Yep. Bye. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.